So this for me sort of stands out in this verse, that you bring into your action both the complete dutifulness, diligence that arises from your heart when you do something with a lot of fervor and wish and enthusiasm and so forth, and then you just cut anything that you know of yourself that would want you to do that thing, and you still do that thing. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 19. Therefore, giving up attachment, perform actions as a matter of duty, for by working without being attached to the fruits, one attains the supreme.
So basically what Krishna is saying here, therefore he explains why to do before in the rest of the chapter.
We will come to it in other videos.
It will come in other videos. But the understanding that stands here is like that. When we act normally, we act out of two forces. One is the Dharma, which is the perfect integration of the piece in the whole, a dynamic and perfect integration of the piece in the whole. So the movement of Dharma is liberating, and at least to a proportion, it exists in everyone and in everything. And then next to it, we have our attachments to the action. We have our personal agenda. We are inviting people to dinner because we have an agenda and we want praise, connections, I don't know what, to overeat. We have some agendas, we have some attachments to the action. And what Krishna is saying is work without attachment. Once you remove attachment completely, there will be but one force. You don't need to imagine Dharma. You don't need to invent Dharma. Dharma is there inside of you. So if you work without attachment, the only force that will work through you is the Dharma. You are inviting people for dinner because it's meant to be. And you are cooking this dinner because it's meant to be. And you are shopping because it's meant to be. That kind of action liberates you. And as Krishna says, you attain the supreme. If you maintain this state of innocence, this state of having no particular preference or agenda, and yet acting, the thing that acts through you is unwinding, is undoing all attachments and all limitations. Yeah, because that's what Dharma does. Dharma sets us free. So attachment, agenda, which are essentially selfishness, binds us into illusion, into separation, into a shell that separates us from the whole. And Dharma unwinds that. Every action, the same action, inviting people for dinner, cooking for dinner, when it's done from attachments, it is making us more and more bound, more and more separate. And when we cook the same dinner for friends as an act of Dharma, without having any agenda or selfishness, that act will release us from whatever traces of selfishness, of separation from the whole which exists there, and therefore we will attain the supreme, as Krishna promised, and as many have attained. There are many people who attain samadhi. For example, one of the disciples of Ramana Maharishi attained samadhi basically through karma yoga, by doing without attachment, and then one impulse from the master, he entered samadhi and went to a cave 1 year to sit in that glorious state, which was attained not by meditation, not by studying the scriptures, not even by physically being close to his guru, but by working selflessly with a great effort for many years. And it was enough to release him from selfishness, and then one touch, one word, or one sentence actually from the master, puff, and there he was free.
Yeah, I've been looking at also other ways of translating, and I found one more here. Therefore, always perform prescribed actions diligently without attachment, for by performing action without attachment, an individual attains the supreme. And then this word diligently, or in the other translation, it was translated as dutiful, or like as duty, perform the actions as duty. It also means samachara, and it also means, it also has a root of news and presence and so forth. And for me, it's very interesting, this combination of to do this diligently and dutiful, but without any attachment. And if you think how often do you do something dutifully, then very likely there's at least something inside of you attached to what you're doing. And I find it interesting how this verse basically puts this double attack somehow, which often in Tantra and also in Yoga you find this double attack to the ego, to the false identification, to the illusion. So you might, for example, in order to really center into your heart and allow the bird of the soul to sing, you might also need to silence the mind. And as our teacher likes to put it, catch the cat of the mind and then open the cage to the bird of the heart and let them free. So you need two forces somehow. Another thing is, if you focus in the present, that's beautiful, but within the present you need to anchor yourself into something. And basically Karma Yoga suggests, as you become completely present, you focus yourself on the action. How do you become completely present? Well, by relieving any attachment. It is the attachment to the action that then connects you to the things that you want to obtain with this action in the future, the things from the past that led you to do this action, right? So when you are really into an action with a lot of dutiful feeling to it, very often we have attached thoughts to the past and to the future. But when you just let those become quiet, and you still remain with the same enthusiasm, with the same duty, with the same diligence, with the same wish to fulfill this thing here and now, no matter what will be the outcome, no matter where we are coming from, then you're already enlightened, because you double attack somehow. You bring your complete heart, your complete being, your duty, your diligence, all of that, and in the same time, complete silence. You have no reason to do this, you have no agenda to do it, there's no future ideas of it, there's no past ideas of it. So this for me sort of stands out in this verse, that you bring into your action both the complete dutifulness, diligence that arises from your heart when you do something with a lot of fervor and wish and enthusiasm and so forth, and then you just cut anything that you know of yourself that would want you to do that thing, and you still do that thing. And then guess who's doing that thing all of a sudden? Well, the illusory I is stripped of that situation by removing the attachment. So therefore the real doer appears or is revealed within the action. It's a very, very beautiful one.
Many people, they say, I don't have time to do karma yoga. And somehow the assumption behind this is I got to use my time to be happy in other ways. And we try to attain happiness by attachments, by the results of the action. And it doesn't work. I hope you realize that you look at your lives and the lives of people around you, it just doesn't work if you work with attachment. You get completely bound. It's like you're following a carrot that's on a stick in front of you. You will never reach that carrot. But if you stand still and do karma yoga for the sake of karma yoga, you discover that action and happiness are one of the same. If karma yoga is done, it's a gradual process. You decrease and decrease your wish for getting anything personal from this work, and you increase and increase the feeling that simply it needs to be done, so I do it. And that's it, and I leave no fingerprint, no trace, nobody knows I've done it, it's just done. And then you discover the happiness that you were searching so much to get. Okay, I get money, I get apartment, I get this, I get that, and then I'm happy. I don't have time to do karma yoga because I have to watch a movie to get happy from the movie. If you do your duty and you don't worry about the results and you don't have the agenda of the result, there is happiness done. Very easy.
Supreme happiness even.
Supreme happiness.
If you have any questions or comments? For most of us, it's this way around, that we will, that's why we have such a deadline mentality in the so-called civilized Western world. Yeah, that we only operate towards a deadline. If there's no deadline, we are wasting time, basically. The instant gratification monkey is hopping around in our mind and searching for candy. That's basically what is happening most of the other time. And then when the deadline hits, depending on also a little bit your neuronal system and upbringing, you will closer and closer to the deadline start to get active. I would post you a nice TED talk about this. It's very funny. With the panic monster is coming out, and then we all start to move all of a sudden. And this is a symptom of only operating based on motivational schemes. So when your actions is mainly arising from agenda, then your life will look like this more or less. It depends on then somehow again your inner structure, your upbringing and so forth. If you will start working for that exam that is coming up a month before or a week before or a day before, this depends from person to person. But for most of us, we have a little alarm bell going on in our head, and that it says, well, exam's coming up. If we are a Virgo, probably 3 months before the exam. If we are Gemini, probably 3 days before. Oh yeah, there was something in the calendar. Let's get to it. Let's try to sort of figure this out before it's too late, right? And in this way, what happens is you accumulate a lot of, well, a big pile of wasted time, right? You accumulate a lot of time that should have gone to your evolution and so forth, that is now wasted into all sorts of other things. And the only way out of this is to awaken the soul and to find true aspiration in your heart. And for that, you need at least a taste of having acted just because it's the thing to do. You need at least a taster of that. At least you need some seconds of that ever having happened to you. And then you have a referential point. Now, it's not so difficult to actually reach to that. For example, you could just sit, ask your heart right now, heart, what are we meant to do right now? Oh, sun salutations, let's do it. Yeah, heart, what are we meant to do? Oh, contemplate. Let's contemplate. Once you have a taster of how it looks like when you ask your heart in this moment what is on the menu, and then you do it no matter what, and then you get a sense, a feeling of how it is when you live life like that, and there will be no more gaps, there will be no more wasted time bubbles in your continuum there. That will be the food for that. And of course, any time that you say yes to the instant gratification monkey and you rather go for some pleasure now than feeling in your heart what is meant to be done now, then by training, you will more and more go into that loop. But you can always break that cycle by stopping now, asking the heart, now do what the heart says.
Yes, and you can change the perspective. So you can play with the thought. Yeah, everyone, did you go for your job? Contemplate. I do this, and you can pray and see, because it's Dharma, because it's duty. I study because it's my duty to study. Just like that. I run this company, I do this job because it's my duty to do it. It's my Dharma to do it. And pray and ask if it's integrated. And then you just do it as such, without the burden of getting something from it and then the anxiety of maybe not getting something from it. Just perceive it as, this is my duty to study now, to do this job now. I do it because it's my duty. This is my place. and constantly pray to see that it is your place. And if it's not your place, you can stop doing it and don't worry about that. And of course, the more you will work under this umbrella of the school, the more it will become a nature, a kind of second nature, to work out of that, to work out of love, out of the soul, as Blandine mentioned. So in this context of this verse, of what Krishna is saying, take it as your swadharma, as your personal dharma. Do your personal dharma. Of course, duty can have this, because you can also have duty from ambition. And it's another kind of duty. But here, what Krishna refers to my understanding, is to do your swadharma. You have a role, you are a part of something, do your part.
Yeah, but the idea is that you do it like it's yours to do, right? You do it in the way that you would do other types of duties. Because for many of us, it's like, oh yes, I want to find my purpose. How bad do you really want to find it? Because I don't see you do much for that. I see you be on Netflix. I see you, roll around in the snow or what have you. Great, do that. It's no problem. But clearly you don't really want to find your purpose, right? So very often when we speak about Dharma and fulfilling Dharma, then it's like, yes, of course I want. Just not now. Just this is more important. That is more important. I don't want to fulfill it right now because I have other stuff to do. In the same way that our teacher likes to say, everybody wants to be enlightened, but not now, right? So the point that I was making with this attachment is that usually we feel dutiful about something because there's a deadline. We feel dutiful because we have an attachment. Because why are you keeping this deadline? Nobody's putting a gun to your head, right? But you want to look good in front of your boss, you want to do good in the exam because you want to feel nice about yourself, maybe you want to pass the exam because then you will have a good outcome from that, you don't want to let your family down, you don't, and all of a sudden we move. Yeah? But we are moving from a whole lot of motivational impulses. And even those of us that haven't been so much raised on a maybe reward base, you've been raised on a punishment base, very likely. And then you do stuff because you're trying to avoid punishment. Or you're doing stuff because you want to get a reward. One of the two. And if you think you are out of this motivational scheme thing, very likely you're not. Very, very likely you're not. If you still have an ego, this is what you're operating on. But now, the idea is to come with the same strength, with the same wish of fulfilling something, without those attachments, without those schemes, right? Without these specific ideas of, well, something happened in the past, therefore I have to, or something's going to happen in the future, therefore I have to. No, just because. Just because it's a necessity now that God placed in your heart. Just for that, for no other reason. You don't know why, you don't know what, you don't even know why your hands are moving, but you're doing it full on. And not with a, oh yeah, and then I watched Netflix with a lot of dedication for 5 hours. Then I played that game with a lot of dedication for an hour. Then I hung out with my friends with a lot of dedication for 6 hours. Then I flirted with someone with a lot of dedication for an hour. And then I sort of did my Karma Yoga. I still have some Karma Yoga to do. Blah, blah. Then I did my practice sort of half-hearted, half asleep, So the idea is, be there with the same engagement because it's arising from your heart, but without the attachment.
For now it's all right. You are not having the choice. If you have the choice between total detachment and that curiosity, choose total detachment. But you probably don't have that choice. You have the choice between reading your courses and doing something which comes from a lower place. So read your courses. It's better. For now. Once you are really touching this peak in which you do anything also completely selfless, then if there comes a very refined and sattvic impulse to read something spiritual and yet it's coming with a trace of an ego, you don't do it. But this is not the condition. Once we get there, hopefully in one of the coming meetings, all of us will get there, then we'll take the next step. For now, it's very good. You move from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, from sattva to transcendence. Krishna is describing the move to transcendence. For now, if you are in tamas, go to rajas. If you are in rajas, go to sattva. And if you are in sattva, start to contemplate transcendence.
And enjoy
And enjoy the sattva.
Just good to understand that one of the reasons why we practice every day, or why it is recommended to practice every day, is because it awakens aspiration inside of you. After your practice, you will feel more inclined to do something that arises directly without any knowing from the depths of the heart, just like that. And not to follow desires that are based on past schemas and all of that stuff. Oh yeah, let's do this thing because I always like to do that thing, right? So you practice in order to return every day to a sattvic inner attitude, to a sattvic way of doing things. So this is your crutch for the moment. Do your practice, no matter why you do your practice, and then contemplate very well the state that arises within the practice. Even when you start your practice from a bit more of a motivational scheme, but you are attentive as you practice, it is very difficult to avoid that clarity that arises from inside, that inner direction that comes from the heart and so forth. So use that for now, and then from there, go and read your courses and go and do this and that from that place. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.